This is an iPhone, or is it really? Well, in this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks on how you can spot a fake iPhone, or at least tell that you have the real thing on you. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video, and for today decided to do something different. I happened to come across a fake iPhone. What I can definitely say is one of the best iPhone clones I've ever seen. It was a clone of an iPhone 7, and these are just some of the ways that I was able to see that it was fake. In front of me we have the packaging that this fake iPhone 7 came in. If you've ever unboxed an iPhone, this will be familiar to you. You've got the box on the left side, then you've got the quick start guides in there. Unfortunately, there are no Apple stickers inside there. The phone itself, lightning cable, and then you've got some lightning earpods, because iPhone 7 is meant to not have a headphone jack. So that's what you get in the package itself. In front of me we have two phones. Both of them are iPhones, but one is fake and one is real. Can you guess which one is fake and which one is real? Quick answer is that the one on the left, this is the fake phone, this is the real phone. This is a real iPhone 6. You can see this is an iPhone 6 and this is a fake iPhone 7. It looks very good. I know that these are different models, but I just brought this as comparison because most of the time you can tell. I'm going to show you how you can tell that. In front of me we have two iPhones. One is fake and then one is real. Can you guess which one is fake and which one is real? The quick answer to that question is that this on the left is the fake phone and this on the right is a real iPhone. This is an iPhone 6 and this is a fake iPhone 7. Different models, but because they're based on the same general body shape, you can actually draw a lot of comparisons between the two. So right now you might be asking yourself, what makes an iPhone fake, or how can you tell that you are dealing with a fake iPhone? So in front of us, as I said, that's a fake iPhone 7. I'm just gonna bring back the iPhone 6 to demonstrate the first thing that I noticed with this particular phone. And you can look, this is the fake one, this is the real one. Look at the screen. I think that's the first way you can tell that this is a fake iPhone. If I was to do this, you can see that when you have a black iPhone, you can't see the screen, right? This is a real iPhone. So you see that the way that Apple has designed the iPhone is the fact that most of the, when you're dealing with a black iPhone, you can't see the screen, right? As in, when I say you can't see the screen, I mean it's only when you power it on that you can see the edges of the actual screen. Whereas with the fake iPhone, you can definitely see the edges, and the edges are very apparent right there. That's the first physical difference. The second one is that if we are to do this, iPhone 6s and 7s are built exactly the same. They've got the same general body shape and design. If I was to put them next to each other, you can see that there's slight differences. You can see that this phone on the right is slightly narrower than this one on the left. And then you can also see that there's a slight height difference as well. Otherwise, the button placement, everything is actually on point, if I'm to be honest. The fake phone even has the California on the back. I don't know if you can read that. I will try and make it a bit clearer. You can see on the back it's got designed by Apple in California, assembled in China, just as with any other iPhone. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Physically, I can definitely say that whoever made this phone, they really did a good job in terms of imitating the phone. The other way that you can tell that these phones are different is the fact that if I am to, let me try and just power this on to demonstrate. If I was to power these phones on, you can see that the screens are slightly different size, yet they are meant to be exactly the same size. So that's another way that you can tell that you are dealing with a fake iPhone. Coming into the software experience, you can tell that this is not a real iPhone just by looking at a number of different situations. I think the first one I'll point out is, if we look at this is meant to be the Safari, the browser. He has just written browser, it's not written Safari. That's the first thing. Second thing is, one of the best giveaways is that if you go into the extras here, you see that there's a Google Play app that's there, and we know that you can't buy any apps on Google Play with an iOS device. So the moment you see this, you know that this is an Android device, that they've made the Android look like iOS. And then the other thing is file manager, right? Everyone knows that iOS is very famous for not allowing you to see your files, right? So that's definitely an Android feature. You can even read over here, it's written Android. These are the things that let you know that it's not an iPhone. Thirdly, sorry, you can see here, these are your Google settings and even just the animation. So we are dealing with we're dealing with Android over here. Yes, so these are the things that let you know that we are dealing with Android. The Play Store, you've got the File app, and then the other giveaways is the fact that when you press the center button on a normal iPhone, I'm gonna bring back the iPhone 6 here and just unlock it. If we hold down the center button, you can see that it goes straight into Siri. Siri is not available because I'm in airplane mode, but it goes into Siri. Whereas on this other phone, as you can see, the center button is even struggling at the moment. You press the button, nothing happens. I'm holding it down, it goes to something called voice control, right? It's not even going to Siri or anything like that. So that's another giveaway. And then another one, just going through, I think we can go through all the apps and just see the difference. Another big one is the font. If you've been looking, you'll notice that I'll try to bring it closer. You can see that the font on this phone is different from the font on this phone. Usually Apple does font changes between different versions of iOS, but this was just a bit too much. And then the other thing to note is the fact that, once again, unresponsive phone. Let's press to unlock. The other thing is, or if you go to, if we just do the drop down menu, you can see that it's totally different, the way that it's the way that it's presented here. Whereas here it's talking about SIM card not detected. iOS does not do this. And then you can see that the cards are different from the way that they are done over here. Like, it's totally different. But anyway, that's life on this phone. And then the other thing, you can see more of the Google settings, Play Store, things like that let you know that no, you're not dealing with the proper iPhone. If we go into some of the other apps, if we go into the settings, I think that's a good one. You can see that this phone is not very it's not very smooth. Let me let it focus. It's not very smooth. Everyone knows that iPhones are smooth. But this is just struggling. This is just struggling. The other one is, I was actually playing with the settings earlier on. I tried to get into the Wi-Fi. If I click on anything, going into the password, it doesn't even present a proper keyboard. Right? This is the first time that I've been able to have the keyboard coming up, and this is not an iOS keyboard. This is meant to be Swift key, but this is not what. See, the keyboard just disappeared on its own. I don't even know what's going on there. And then the other thing that I can show you guys right now in terms of the software. If I go to iBooks, I think that was, see, LA Reader. Who knows what LA Reader is, right? But it's definitely not see, it's got something called Bookshelf. So it's just such a struggle. Such a struggle. Something else to note about this particular phone is you can see that I said that the fonts are different, but even just some of the little icons as well, you can tell just from looking at them that they tried to imitate them as much as possible, but they failed in some regards. Look at this calendar app, it's slightly different. I think from a software point of view, one of the things that entertained me the most about this fake phone is the fact that whoever made this actually had the vision or the creativity to actually implement Force Touch. As you can see, Force Touch is a feature that started being made available on the iPhone 6s, where you can bring up options for different apps just by the level of touch, right? So see, it's failing to do it in some cases. Let me try with the camera. See, Force Touch. It actually works. I was actually quite entertained by that one. See, they really tried with that one. If I go into the FaceTime app, we can see that it's a total ripoff of the original thing, because on the original it's meant to say video and then audio, but there's nothing there. There it is, video, audio, but that's not how it looks on an actual iPhone. Something else that iPhones are famous for is this swipe up gesture, which brings up some quick toggles. If I do this, you can see that they tried to implement this, but it's a bit of a tough one. And then this is from iOS 10 back in the day, but you'll see that if you press some of these like this, and the airdrop and the night shift button, nothing happens whatsoever, nothing, right? I'm happy to say that the torch worked, and also the alarms one also worked, but you can see that for the rest of these, like your night shift button, nothing happens when you press it. The AirPlay, nothing happens when you press it. The airdrop, nothing happens when you press it. More giveaways, dead giveaways. One of the things that iPhones are most famous for is the camera. iPhones have great cameras, if I do say so myself, and I'm gonna bring up an iPhone 6 and bring up the camera app just to demonstrate what I mean. So let me bring up some Vaseline here. I've got some Vaseline, and you can see that it's a very responsive thing. You take a shot and it just takes a picture. But if I'm to bring in this other phone here, and let me try and unlock it, because it's just being difficult. Let's try bringing up the camera. See how long it's taking that black screen. See how it's struggling. Look at this, struggling to find focus in the viewfinder. Another dead giveaway that you're not dealing with a proper iPhone. They tried in terms of the layout and all of that stuff, but they're just little things in the way that the camera works that are slightly different. If I'm to bring them up like this, as you can see, the field. Let me bring up a normal photo view. You see, they really tried to make it look the same. But you can see that here it's more zoomed in than over here. That's the natural crop of an iPhone, whereas this, it's way too zoomed in, and it's slow. You can see it's slow, whereas this very smooth. Very smooth. So now you may be asking yourself, how do you spot very quickly whether or not you're dealing with an original iPhone. As you can see, this is an excellent replica. They really tried with this one, but I've got one or two tips for you in terms of how you can see whether or not you have an original iPhone. I know that a lot of people tend to buy phones secondhand or on the street, and this is for people who do that. This is just a quick guide on how you can tell if you have an original iPhone. So the first thing, we're going to do physical checks and then software checks. So on the hardware side, I think the big thing, as we spoke about earlier, is just that issue of you cannot see the screen on a black iPhone, right? I think that's a very good giveaway. You can easily distinguish the corners and edges of the screen on this phone, whereas on this phone you'd be hard pressed to actually see the corners, right? See, they are the actual corners. But when the phones are off, you shouldn't be able to see that, whereas on this it's very apparent. That's the first giveaway. And then just the second thing, and this applies specifically because this is meant to be an iPhone 7. If you look over here, I'm just going to tap this. This is actually a button, right? But iPhone 7s don't have a physical home button. They don't. Unlike an iPhone 6, on the other hand, has a physical button that you actually press, right? As you can hear, and it actually does something, right? But with the introduction of the iPhone 7, they stopped having an actual button. It's just a depression on the face of the phone, where your hand can rest for the fingerprint scanner. But with this, you can actually hear that they actually have a button. They failed to implement that whole thing, right? So that's it on the physical side. Otherwise, I can definitely say the only other way you can tell is just the dimensions. As I mentioned earlier on, the dimensions of the two phones are slightly off. This one is just a bit wider and a bit thicker, whereas this is a bit wider. In terms of the quick checks on the software, I think one of the easiest is to look for any Google services, especially a Google Play app that immediately lets you know that you are dealing with an Android phone. You can get into the settings, and like with this phone, for example, they really try to make it look as legit as possible. But otherwise, look for any Google services that lets you know that you're not dealing with iOS. I think lastly, on the software side, it's just how smooth the interface is. Just play around with it, make it do a bunch of things. Like with this phone, you see it's sticking, it's lagging when you try to do multiple things at one time, when you try bringing up things like that. So you can definitely see it's struggling so hard. It's so hard. iPhones tend to be buttery smooth because the advantage of Apple is the fact that they make their own hardware and software, so they've optimized the whole experience. So that's another way you can check. And then after that, just go into the rest of the apps. If you have an iPhone to compare with, that would be the best. But otherwise, look for any Google services. That is the best dead giveaway.
What you're seeing now is a developer mode that the phone went into on its own. This occurred when we tried to switch off the phone so that we could switch it back on and sort of reboot and see what that process was like. And it went into this mode on its own. And as you can see, it's not even in English, so I had to fiddle around with the settings for quite some time before getting it back into its normal mode.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I really hope that video was helpful to somebody out there. I know that we're all in the market at one point or another for a new phone, a new tablet, a new laptop, and some of the times you might be getting a fake device. I hope that I've been able to at least shed some light on some of the ways, some of the techniques, some of the things that you should be looking out for. I think the biggest takeaway is that a lot of these phones, especially if it's an iPhone clone, it will most probably be a version of Android that's made made to look like iOS. So one of your first things to look for on the software side, definitely look for that Google Play Store or any signs that the phone or the device is running some type of Android. On the build side of things, you saw that the build for that phone was quite on point, but there were just one or two things that were wrong. I think the fact that you could see the screen on a black iPhone, which you can't do on an original one, I think it was a bit of a giveaway, but I really hope I've been able to help somebody. Definitely make sure you tell me what you think in the comments. Have you ever come across a phone like this? If you've been a victim of a fake phone, whether it's an iPhone, Android device, whatever it is, if you've been a victim of a fake phone scam, tell me your story in the comments. Maybe your story can help shed some light for someone else out there about how they can save themselves. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much to everyone who was watching. I hope that you join me for the next installment as we continue with this tech series. Keep it locked. It's your boy MobbJustice.
This is Muffs Too Much and you're watching MobbJustice TV. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. We're there on YouTube. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe.